guess who's on Not the Andrew Marr Show today? It's Ian Hodson from the Bakers Union. How you doing, Ian?
I'm very well, thank you, Crispin. All the better for seeing you, mate.
Oh, well, thank you very much. And it's cool where you are. It's not as warm as down here. The north's a bit cooler, isn't it?
It's cracking cobbles here, mate. The
Oh,
sun's shining. I mean, it's
okay.
like the tropics, honest.
I'm pleased to hear that. Now, the reason that I asked you to come on was there's been stories come out this week. It's in the Financial Times and elsewhere as well. I'll just show you that. The Labour draft angers unions with vow to consult business on workers' rights. 3 pledges in the New Deal for working people have been weakened since first proposed. And the article sort of goes into this a bit more by saying, the new text incorporates some changes to the reforms agreed last year at Labour's National Policy Forum, a gathering of party officials, MPs and union leaders. These include allowing companies to still use probationary periods for new staff and giving workers a right to a contract reflecting their recent regular work pattern, rather than an outright ban on 0 hours contracts. But it also goes further with repeated promises, including to business groups who had been increasingly vocal in opposition to the policies in recent months, that Labour would not press forward without consulting. The text pledges a full and comprehensive consultation on the implementation of the New Deal, with businesses, trade unions and civil society invited to participate. Labour has also leavened its promises with more business-friendly language, such as on its pledge to ban fire and rehire, where the party says it is important that businesses can restructure to remain viable and preserve their workforce when there is genuinely no alternative. Sharon Graham, General Secretary of Unite the Union, which was Labour's biggest single donor during the past decade, said the document represented a rowback on a rowback. It's totally unrecognisable from the original proposals produced with the union, she said on Wednesday. Workers will see through this and mark the retreat after retreat as a betrayal. What is Labour offering here? I mean, it doesn't look like they're offering anything.
Listen, I mean, 2021, part of the reason why we disaffiliated from the Labour Party was because we saw the writing on the wall when they forced Andy McDonnell out. I mean, because obviously Andy McDonnell was the architect of the New Deal for workers. And quite clearly, you know, what we saw in 2021 has come into fruition this week. I mean, and obviously we saw the announcements that came out on May Day, you know, the day that celebrates international workers across the world in solidarity, and he decided to put out that he was going to weaken part of his New Deal plan for workers. And I suppose on the fire and rehire, just welcoming Natalie Elphick into his party, who was a big supporter of fire and rehire. I suppose it might have been one of the ways to encourage her to come across to Labour. I mean, we can't forget the awful things that she had to say about the RMT and its members when they were campaigning to save jobs, that the P&O had decided, you know, they were gonna sack all the workers off and employ people on, I think, is it £4 or £5 an hour they're paying them now.
So you could see it all coming. I mean, it just seems like Labour's presenting itself for business more than for workers. I mean, that idea of giving businesses a final consultation on what they think of this, I mean, that's laughable, isn't it? I mean, workers' rights are not going to be something they're going to be keen on, is it?
I mean, according to the polls, Labour are going to absolutely romp home with, I mean, I think I saw a poll yesterday suggesting the Tories will be lucky if they end up with 18 seats. So here's an opportunity to actually fulfil the dreams and ambitions that the Labour Party were founded on, but instead, what they want to do is curry favour, you know, with the right-wing media, say safe to vote Labour, we're a pro-business party. But the Labour Party wasn't founded to be a pro-business party. It was founded to represent the interests of working-class communities. And what the New Deal is now offering, in Sharon Graham's own words, a Unite Union, affiliated union of the Labour Party, is a bad boss's charter. I mean, you know, we're on the outside of the Labour Party because we recognise they no longer represent our interests. But all of the millions of pounds being invested by union members' money is being wasted on a party that fails, you know, to recognise the importance and the opportunity that this next general election gives to raise the standards and improve the lives of working people who have paid the price for all of the problems over the last decades, and what austerity has caused. And on 0 hour contracts alone, the unions have a job to force labour to change its position on 0 hours contracts. They're not about flexibility, they're about exploitation. And that alone should make people think twice about whether they want to support a Labour Party that can't see how insecure that makes people. I mean, we've spoke many, many times. We've run many, many campaigns on the issues and the vulnerabilities that workers on 0 hours contract face, the sexual harassment stuff with McDonald's, for example, that just recently, confirmed that they get 1 to 2 complaints a week of sexual harassment. That's 104 complaints coming from their employees on an annual basis. And most of that is related to their insecurity and vulnerabilities of being on a 0 hours contract because of the complexities, the power dynamics between the relationship between workers and the bosses. It gives so much power to bosses. I mean, and if they can't get that right, and they can't be, understanding of the importance of giving people security and ending vulnerability. I mean, what does the Labour Party actually stand for now?
They keep going on about growth. We're going to bring more growth, more growth. That's their main economic policy because they're not going to bring anything into public ownership. Doesn't growth depend on exploitation in terms of businesses? I mean, isn't that what they're talking about?
I think when you look around the world and you see the people that, the countries and the politicians that offer more job security to people, you often see a bigger increase in productivity. I mean, normally they relate poor productivity to inequality and injustice in the workplace. They normally say, if people aren't invested in, then productivity levels drop. And we've had decades now of low productivity in the United Kingdom. And it goes hand in hand with what, the politicians have done to our employment legislation and the undermining of trade unions. If you compare where we were to where we are, I mean, they always talk so badly about the 1970s, but when we had proper collective bargaining going on in workplaces and workers were able to improve their wages through collective responses to what was happening in the economy, Britain's GDP and Britain's productivity was far higher than what we've averaged since Thatcherism and the ideology behind neoliberalism. And I think we need to get back to a situation where people's lives are better, but people's children's lives will continue to get better than theirs. But we're unfortunately being offered a political solution which is facing in the wrong direction and offering the wrong solutions to the real problems that people face.
I mean, the thing is, with the two parties so similar on this, it's easy to forget that there's any alternative at all, or that some kind of alternative exists out there in ideas. And you've got a launch on Tuesday of the Bakers Dozen 2024 election manifesto. It's in the House of Commons. I don't know if everyone will be able to pile into that committee room, but what can you tell us? Sorry?
They're all welcome.
All right.
We'll have standing room, and let's fill up Westminster with people who are interested in changing people's lives for the better.
Can you give us a teaser of what to expect there?
So we surveyed our members and got them to tell us what their priorities were, because we're constantly told what people's priorities are by politicians. And funnily enough, our members didn't say that small boats were a priority. They said the current crisis in the economy was their problem, and some of the solutions that they believe would help to reduce the inequalities to renationalise our energy, for example, or our water. They believe public ownership of those essential utilities would improve people's lives, and I have to agree with them. They also believe, obviously, the campaign that we've been very strong on, which was the reason why Andy McDonald was forced out, as I was saying at the beginning. For £15 an hour, our members do believe that nobody should be under earning less than £15 an hour. And there's quite a number of policies that they've identified as what would improve their lives, which I think, to me, shows that the union and the way it conducts itself is completely in line with what our members' beliefs and feelings are. You know, they want to end arms sales to Israel, for example. You know, I mean, that in itself says, you know, they are recognizing the importance of a world of peace, not a world of war. I mean, we've just seen, haven't we, the government fined £75 billion to invest in war, but yet our NHS, which our members believe should be renationalised and put back into the hands of the public and run in the interest of the public and not for private healthcare and profit, they believe that you know, is critical to improve the health and the living standards of everybody across the UK.
Right.
So some snippets, Crispin.
Oh, you're not giving any more? All right.
No, I'm not going to give you any more. Come
That's
along.
about 3. You've only done about 3. There's 12. So,
Oh,
so we'll
Bakers
have to.
Dozen 13, mate.
Oh, right, 13. Yes, sorry, silly me. Oh God, I've got to go back to school on that dozen stuff. Oh, well, that's great. I mean, the thing is, if we don't put these ideas out there, then we forget that they exist because we're not given them by the politicians. So, and the parties aren't offering it. The two main parties. So it's great that you're doing that, and I hope there's room in the committee room there, and it's not too hot. Because sometimes and I wore shorts there the last time I went there, and people were taking the mickey out of me. So yeah, just watch what you wear and leave the windows open. Thank you.
I ain't got the legs for shorts, Crispin.